We begin at 7 with breaking news tonight. Several new leads in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. She, of course, the mother of Savannah Guthrie from the Today Show. She disappeared 6 days ago. Good evening, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Annabelle Sedano. Nancy Guthrie, as you just heard Colleen say, was last seen on Saturday. But the FBI has been investigating a few ransom notes. And our Robert Kovacic is in Tucson, Arizona. He's following the latest on this search. Robert.
Annabelle and Colleen, we are outside of Nancy Guthrie's home, or as close as we can right now, as evening falls here in Catalina Foothills. That is what the suburbs are called here, just outside of Tucson. And we want to, as we take a look behind us, talk about three major developments that are going on right now in this investigation. Number one, the FBI and investigators are back at the home, and we can confirm they are still there. We just found out moments ago. Now, as you heard on the NBC4 News at 6 o'clock tonight, as you take a look at some of the investigation that has been unfolding over the last few days, we did tell you this evening that investigators were spotted in the backyard tonight. They were looking apparently for something. We don't know exactly what, but was it related to an email received by a local news station here in Tucson today? That would be development two. A demand received from that station here, again, a local news station, an email sent to them. Was it from the same person or person who spent the first time writing a note that demanded a 5 p.m. deadline yesterday and then a 6 p.m. deadline Monday? Authorities stressed to NBC, law enforcement has not been able to determine the legitimacy of the email received today or of the first ransom note. And again, it is still not verified if that first note with a second deadline for Monday. Colleen and Annabelle, I'm going to ask you guys just to bear with us, to stay with us live here for a second. Our producers are telling us that we want to come back here live. This is another development which I'm going to talk to you about in a second. This is, I believe you're going to see live on NBC4, a flatbed truck. Now, on that flatbed truck is a car. We do not know if this is coming from the driveway of Nancy Guthrie's home. We don't know if it's coming from a neighbor's, but we have been told and asked to look out for it. I'm going to get out of the way. It is really important that we get a shot of this car as it comes. Ladies, follow me as we do it. Lewis, go ahead and turn. And apparently it looked like a Toyota that was on that flatbed truck. There's a Pima County Sheriff following that truck. One more time, Lewis? Subaru. I beg your pardon. It was a Subaru on that truck. What is interesting, Colleen and Annabelle, is as that truck stops now and they try to make their way down this windy road, that Subaru, we were hoping to get a license plate on. The Subaru was turned around, so we could not get a license plate on it. But let's swing by here now and get you caught up. So we are talking about a car that you just saw live on our air that we believe may have come from the driveway of Nancy Guthrie just up the road. So let's just back up, if we will, and catch you caught up on the three major developments. First, investigators back at the home, and as you just saw, they may be taking evidence, that evidence being a Subaru. The second, there is another email, a letter with demands that was sent to a local television news station. Law enforcement can't verify it. They say that they don't even know if there's any legitimacy to either of those notes, if these notes are connected. And that means this note received today connected to a first note received on Monday that said that there was a deadline at 5 p.m. yesterday and another deadline for Bitcoin money at 6 p.m. on coming this Monday. The third development, let's show you that video if we can. This is video shot by NBC4 upon our arrival. This is the Circle K. Circle K relevant because apparently there was a tip that came in to law enforcement that a car or cars, vehicle or vehicles, if you will, possibly involved in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, made its way at some point to Circle K. This is about a 6-minute drive exactly, ladies, from where I'm standing to that Circle K. And NBC News has learned from Circle K, giving NBC News a statement that law enforcement went there, they cooperated and they were willing to give law enforcement their surveillance video. If anything came of that, we don't know. So as you come back here, if anything comes of any of the developments I'm telling you right now, we just don't know. All we can tell you is that there are investigators up at Nancy Guthrie's house, according to NBC News and our team here on the ground. And we see right now that a Subaru vehicle, we may know more in the next couple of hours, should know more when we see you on the NBC4 News at 11, if that Subaru is connected to this investigation. I'll leave you with this. Just minutes ago, President Trump on Air Force One says that he is fairly certain that there will be some type of developments being announced in the coming hours, because he says things are happening on the ground here in Tucson. Is he referring to what's going on here now? We just don't know. But for now, we're live here in Tucson. I'm Robert Kovacic. I hope that all made sense to you. That doesn't, here to help connect the dots.
No, we got it, Robert. 3 new developments today. One, the Subaru that went by. The other, the car that may have been seen at the Circle K. And, of course, that other note that was sent or emailed to a television station in Tucson. Very quickly, before you go, has another press conference or news conference been scheduled here? The last time we heard from the sheriff and the FBI was on Thursday.
This is an excellent point you made, Colleen, because this really is the first day that investigators have gone silent. This is not to say that they're not present. We saw sheriff's deputies out canvassing this neighborhood again today, asking for surveillance video. But from what our people are telling us, that they are really now working on these developments and trying to piece this all together, so hopefully they can find Nancy Guthrie and bring her back safely. But as far as any type of news conference or press conference, we wait to see if that will happen.
We are now into day 6 of the search for Nancy Guthrie as authorities still search for a suspect. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Conchetta Callahan as the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department continue the hunt for the Today Show anchor's mother. The timeline behind everything that's happened so far is becoming clearer. JJ McKinney has more.
It is now day 6 in the search for Nancy Guthrie, and authorities still do not know where she is. Now, authorities have gone back to Nancy's home today, both the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI. What they're looking for is still unclear. Tonight, we're learning of another possible ransom note. This after a second video put out on social media last night by the Guthrie children pleading for the safe return of their mother.
Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward.
Nancy's son, Cameron Guthrie, pleading for proof their mom is alive, also saying the family is ready to talk. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos remaining hopeful.
My team's going to find her, and she's going to be okay, and we're going to get her home.
Here's what we know so far. At around 5:32 Saturday evening, Nancy took an Uber to her family's home for dinner. Authorities have already interviewed the driver. At 9:48 in the evening, she was dropped off at home. The garage door opened. About 2 minutes later, the garage door closed. Then Sunday at 1:47 in the morning, Nancy's doorbell camera was disconnected. Authorities have still not found the footage. At about 2:12 in the morning, software detects a person on camera, but no video is available because there is not an active subscription service. Nancy's pacemaker is then disconnected from her phone at 2:28 a.m. The Guthrie family then checks in on Nancy around noon of the next day and discovers she is missing. A 911 call is made at 12:03 p.m. and the first deputies arrive at the scene. And also tonight, President Trump talking about the investigation, saying he's been encouraged by the updates he's receiving from agents.
We have some things I think that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever that could be suspect. Yeah, could be definitive. A lot's taken place in the last couple of hours. A lot of things have happened with regard to that horrible situation in the last couple of hours.
Tonight, this case remains a mystery. There is a $50,000 reward for any information that leads to their arrest and conviction in this case. Reporting this.
We have some things I think that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever that could be
suspect.
Yeah, could be definitive. A lot's taken place in the last couple of hours. A lot of things have happened with regard to that horrible situation in the last couple of hours.
And we begin with breaking news. According to President Donald Trump tonight, you just heard the search for Nancy Guthrie is making progress, with much happening in just the last couple of hours. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Sean Mooney. It comes as a car was towed from the Guthrie residence tonight. Now, Nancy Guthrie was last seen in her home in the Catalina foothills on Saturday night near Skyline and Campbell. And a lot of activity still happening there this evening. News 4 Tucson's Monica Garcia is there live right now with the latest. Monica, what can you tell us?
Well, Sean, I can tell you it's very much still an active scene out here, as a lot is still unfolding and very quickly. We know that investigators, including the FBI and deputies, have been going door to door to neighbors, a sort of a renewed search, asking the neighbors if they know anything. What's interesting is that we know that they've done this before. We know that they've been out here. They've investigated this house before. They've searched the house before, but it's a renewed effort. The timing that was interesting, because all of this coming after that second note or message that they're calling it was received by the Pima County Sheriff's Department, allegedly, reportedly by the kidnapper, we possibly believe. And all of this happening right behind me. So I'm going to step aside to give you an idea where we're at. We're about half a block as Jacob zooms in from Nancy Guthrie's residence. And then around 8 p.m., and I know that we have video of this, a car believed to have belonged to Nancy Guthrie was towed by authorities from her home right here in the foothills during the course of the FBI's crime scene processing. You see it right there. Video records showed that the car being taken from Nancy's residence, we saw it here, was previously seen in her garage and believed to have belonged to her. So that's what they towed away around 8 o'clock, so about 2 hours ago, as they are out here investigating. So that's an additional piece that they're doing out here today, something we haven't seen before. This all comes after law enforcement, including multiple agencies, returned this afternoon around 4 o'clock for that renewed search of the house. And again, the timing following a message received believed to possibly have been sent by the kidnapper, which Pima County Sheriff's Department confirmed to us that they are investigating. Investigators confirmed they're aware of that new message and they're actively reviewing it. We're also learning law enforcement followed up on a tip involving a possible vehicle at a local Circle K. That's another piece of interesting information that we received today. That Circle K is something new to us, where officers reviewing surveillance video. Authorities stress it's unclear whether that tip is connected to the case, but they have to look into it. So this comes, of course, as President Trump, as you just mentioned, Sean, has said that he expects to have answers in this case soon. And then let's talk again about that critical timing. The critical timing, of course, is this deadline and that alleged reported ransom note that says it was yesterday was the first deadline. We passed that, unclear what was supposed to happen. But then Monday, there's that new deadline at 2 p.m. So we're still waiting for that new deadline of this alleged ransom note. So critical timing here. And then I must say the FBI has been telling us, they've been posting all these billboards, digital billboards with Nancy Guthrie's face, and that $50,000 reward, which we know is going all across the state of Arizona, as well as surrounding states, as we hope to get closer to finding Nancy Guthrie. Live from the foothills, Sean, I'm Monica Garcia. Back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Monica. A lot of pieces now out there and new information. As soon as we learn more, we will bring it to you. The FBI still looking for any tips or leads to help in the search. If you have any information, you're asked to call the FBI, which is that number right there on your screen. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI. And the man accused of sending a fake ransom text in the Guthrie case appeared before a judge today in California. Now, Derrick Callella was arrested yesterday in Hawthorne, California, and is facing charges for allegedly transmitting a demand for ransom to the family of Nancy Guthrie. He was granted release on conditions and a $20,000 surety bond. Now, Callella must surrender his passport and can only travel in the Central District of California and Arizona, among other conditions of the release. He is scheduled for a court appearance in Arizona on Thursday. For our continuing coverage on the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie, be sure and stay with News 4 Tucson on air.
All right, here with more analysis is Nancy Grace is back with us.
Let's check in with our true crime correspondent, Brianna Whitney, live for us in Tucson to walk us through what we are able to reveal about this latest note that came into the family.
Yeah, and it's been in the last hour that we've learned we can reveal a little bit more. Jared, you mentioned it. There is no proof of life in this new note, but there's also no additional ransom demand, and there's also no way for the kidnapper to communicate with the Guthrie family. There was no way for the Guthries to reach back out. So those are three new details we're able to report at this hour, but it is exceptionally concerning when you know that we are still searching for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. This is day 6 of searching for her. We know she has medical needs, and of course at this time, even if there are new alleged notes coming in, we still have no idea where Nancy is. I want to show you guys what the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI are saying tonight together about this new alleged note coming in. They wrote, quote, "The FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department are aware of a new message regarding Nancy Guthrie. Investigators are actively inspecting the new information provided in the message for its authenticity." And I can tell you guys, I got off the phone with the FBI not too long ago. We knew from yesterday's press conference that the Sheriff's Department has done a lot of the crime scene investigation itself, receiving leads and following up on those. The FBI can provide a lot of behind-the-scenes help. We knew they were going through Nancy Guthrie's cell phone. We knew that they were looking for location data and conducting interviews. But a huge part of what the FBI has been working on has been the alleged ransom note that came in several days ago. That was kind of their lead. They are now taking the lead on this note, this second note that has come in as well. Earlier today, our sister station KOLD, the ones who received this note, were here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Right before we got here, Sheriff Chris Nanos was out here earlier, and as they were getting in new information, they were able to ask him if he wanted to comment on it.
No, not at all. It's again given to the FBI. They've got this, and we'll let them go.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
So the sheriff not saying a whole lot about it tonight, except for that public statement the two of them put out. And when I talked to the public information officer, the media correspondent here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department, they said that sheriff's not doing any other interviews about it tonight, and they will only hold a press conference if there is breaking news to report. So it kind of remains to be seen what they consider breaking news. Are they going to be able to report more that is in this alleged second note coming from the kidnapper or abductors of Nancy Guthrie, or are they waiting for something else? We know they're investigating out at the house. I know our Vanessa Rice is going to get into that coming up here, but let's talk a little bit more about what we know in this note. We know it went to our sister station KOLD. It was this morning. We are choosing not to release other details out of respect for the family and as this investigation continues. Now, like I said earlier, the new note did not contain any new additional ransom demands or a way for the Guthrie family to communicate with the sender of it. We sent the IP address where the note came from to law enforcement, and we have to note it is not the same IP address as that first ransom note that came in, but it appears the sender used the same type of secure server to hide their IP address. The new note also contains something the senders think will prove to investigators that they are the same people who sent the first note. So that's what we can at least reveal at this hour about that second note. Of course, a very precarious situation because the Sheriff's Department, the FBI, they want tips to come in. They want people to weigh in to bring anything to their attention that could possibly aid in this investigation. But they also have to be extremely careful here because, one, they don't want information to get out that could compromise their investigation. Two, we have no idea if any of these notes are legitimate. They had not figured that out, and that's one thing that I think is very interesting tonight. The deadlines, there was 2 of them on that first note. One of them was last night, 5 p.m. That is already passed. But the second deadline the FBI had told us was on Monday. So it is an interesting timeline now that we've received a alleged new note on Friday in between the 2 deadlines from the first one. And this only complicates what the FBI is going to have to figure out on the legitimacy of all of these notes and whether they all come together potentially from the same sender. Outside here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department, Senator Mark Kelly was here as well, and he was able to also talk to media about this. You know, he calls Tucson home. He knows Savannah Guthrie personally. He's done many interviews with her, but he's also known her for many years, and he even commented earlier tonight that you know, Savannah was reporting when Gabby Giffords, Mark's wife, was shot here in Tucson 15 years ago. And so there is a connection there between the two. And Senator Kelly explained to our cameras earlier tonight how he found out that Nancy Guthrie was missing.
Well, I first learned of it, you know, before it was public. Savannah called me, you know, because she knows I live here. And then I called the sheriff, and I called the Tucson police chief. So that was, you know, that was mid-afternoon on Sunday. And Savannah was on the way to the airport to fly here. And obviously rather upset. So I've been doing whatever I can do.
And obviously the detectives working on this case, working round the clock, quite literally 24/7 on this. Mark Kelly was also asked about the investigation itself. He says he has full confidence in the team that's working on it. Take a listen.
The sheriff's been doing a great job. I was in contact with him last Sunday about this. He has hundreds of his deputies investigating this case, working 24/7, you know, on this. If this case can be solved between the sheriff and the FBI, I've got tremendous confidence that they'll be able to figure this out and bring her home.
And again, I talked to the FBI earlier today. They're part of all of this. They are part of this big investigation. They said that, you know, they don't expect to release any more today, but they don't know, and they will keep everybody updated. The way that they're communicating most quickly with people is getting posts out on their social media pages, particularly Twitter or X and Facebook. That is how they are quickly communicating with the public as much as they can. But I think, you know, just a sense of, I've been here now most of the days this week, and I think what's so frustrating and heartbreaking to this whole situation as we go is it's like we're getting little breadcrumbs each day, something new. There might be a new note. We might learn a little bit more. Okay, we have a timeline now that we know. We have little bits and pieces, but not one new piece of information that we have learned has said anything more about where Nancy Guthrie is right now. And that is really difficult when you're talking about, okay, this is all great information, we're moving forward, but are we any closer to finding Nancy? And that is the troubling part of all of this tonight, you guys.
Yeah, Brianna, I've got a quick question for you. Earlier this week, the FBI was able to identify a copycat, figure out who that person was, and take them into custody, like, immediately. Do you think the fact that they have not been able to trace these communications back is any kind of indication that this might be a more sophisticated operator, the person or persons who sent these communications?
I mean, I definitely believe so. I think the arrest that they were able to make of that California man who put out that imposter ransom note just goes to show they have the means and resources to be able to track down things very quickly. But I think whoever is sending these has sent them through this encrypted server where you cannot trace this IP address back and cannot trace exactly where it's coming from. So whoever is sending these, whether they are the abductor of Nancy Guthrie or not, knows what they are doing, and it's exceptionally troubling either way. It's either the person who did this to Nancy, or it's a person who has a sick hoax that they are doing among all of this for some awful reason. So neither answer is good, but I think now the big question that's left for investigators, one, prove this authenticity, whether it is or isn't, but two, what do you do now? Even if you prove it's authentic, there's no way to communicate with the sender. There's no additional request. There was no proof of life. Where do you go from here with those? And is it just, we just keep searching for her? I mean, I know they're back at the house tonight and trying to find new evidence, or at least, you know, re-go over everything and follow up. Did they miss anything? They don't want to leave any stone unturned. But at the end of the day, we just don't seem any closer, and the mystery continues to deepen, especially with this newest note. My wonder now is, what is the Guthrie family going to do next? Are they going to release a video statement about this new note? Are they going to stay quiet? I know they are obviously working with investigators, so what will their next move be? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, it seems like they're taking a lot of advice from the FBI, which is eager to offer it to them. God, what a week they've had. Brianna, you mentioned no verification of the ransom note. There's no person of interest. There's no suspect. There's no videos that we know of, they're up against so many challenges in terms of evidence in the investigation. Where does it go? Is this going to have to hinge on digital evidence or perhaps some piece of DNA? Because they said the one test that came back was the blood test, which tested positive for Nancy on the front porch. Were they, do you know, able to extract anything else from that home, or are tests, DNA tests still underway?
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is possibly both. You know, they're working on surveillance video. We know earlier tonight that there were investigators up on Nancy Guthrie's roof. Perhaps they found something up there that could help lead to something. I don't know if there's other recording devices, but clearly they're up there investigating for a reason. You have to hope that they'll be able to retrieve some of the video. I know they put out yesterday that she didn't have a subscription service for her Google Nest. That was that camera on the front of the door that's no longer there. And so that didn't save video. You have to hope that these companies are able to retrieve things somehow, especially in an investigation like this. But also, yeah, the old school evidence, blood, DNA, you send it to the lab and you get the results back. I mean, that could definitely still yield something. We know that they rush ordered that blood that was on the front porch. It came back positive to Nancy. And it's an interesting piece of evidence because, you know, it was significant in terms of you look at it, you know it's blood. Immediately when I saw it with my own eyes, I knew that was blood. And you're like, okay, that shouldn't be there. But it wasn't an overwhelming amount where somebody would have bled out. And so I think they were trying to figure out there, you know, what did happen on that front porch. We know Nancy bled in some way, but how? Was that from being hit? Was that from something, you know, different? We don't know that answer. We just know that somehow she was injured and bleeding and on that front porch. But they also sent other things to the DNA lab up in Phoenix, and that was also part of this. Their rapid DNA lab in Tucson was broken. The sheriff told me that early in this week. And so they sent that up to Phoenix, but it was the blood that was rapid ordered. That came back, and that, you know, I guess proved conclusive for Nancy, but nobody else. You have to imagine they have other pieces of evidence, other items that are being DNA tested up in the lab right now. Those could take several more days to come back, and so I think we're waiting on that. We also know they took out new evidence as recently as Wednesday. We'll see what happens today now that they're back out there, but you have to imagine that those pieces, new pieces of evidence, are also being tested in some form.
To this investigation. As of now, there is no known.
Harvey Levin is back with us. Harvey, by the way, your coverage has been phenomenal. These are new details for a lot of people. In the letter that they would bring Nancy back to Tucson, they gave a time frame. You were able to map out that circle. And this is what you meant last night. You were a little more cryptic, that you believed it was in the local area. You felt more at liberty today to go into more detail. Tell us why you were able to.
Well, I read that letter 20 times last night, and when I started connecting the time frame that they gave in terms of how long it would take to return her to Tucson, it just became obvious to me that that would be the circle where authorities would focus. But based on everything that's happening, I am increasingly believing that, you know, if this letter is legit, Nancy is not that far away from Tucson. The way it's written, it says bring her back to Tucson. So it doesn't sound like she's in Tucson proper, but there is some connection this person has with the Tucson community. And KOLD, the outlet that got the second letter today, they are a local station. They've been covering this a lot. And what I'm wondering is, you know, they're sending it to a local station that is really involved in this. Is it somebody who's watching that local station? And if they're watching the local station, they're probably in some radius where that station broadcasts. So that red line that I drew on our board this morning, my guess is that circle's a lot smaller.
I think your instincts are probably right as usual. So we have a new message. We have investigators back at the house. We have no proof of life in the second message and no path to any ongoing communications for Savannah and her family
with the people that likely have her mother. So it makes it that much tougher.
Yeah, it does make it tougher. But one of the reporters at KOLD, in describing the letter and describing it very cryptically, made it sound like there's something alarming in there. There was no ransom demand or anything like that, but there was something in there that was somewhat alarming. And I have no idea. It could have to do with Nancy's health. I don't know. But when we got our first letter, the first thing out of the box was she's okay but scared. So that was, days ago. So we don't know how she is now. Remember, she didn't have her medication when she was abducted nearly going on a week ago. So we don't know if the reference was to that. I will say, Sean, we got our letter, which is the same letter that KOLD has, the first one. We got it 12 hours after KOLD got its. So I don't know if we are going to end up getting this, but what I'm going to be looking for is if they are describing in any way the condition of Nancy Guthrie, because if they're not making an additional ransom demand, other than the fact that the reporter said they are trying to prove they are the real deal, and it seems like these two letters are written by the same person, you would think they would have some reference in there to how Nancy is doing.
Well, let's go back to the original letter, Harvey, that you received, and the fact that it mentioned not just the one deadline of yesterday, but the second deadline that is Monday, I would assume 5 p.m. Tucson time, and that would be Monday. And with that you said it would be far more consequential, meaning it sounded somewhat dire, more threatening for her and her safety and her life. That has not changed from all we know about this new letter that came in today.
I can't tell you that. What the reporter said was the deadlines haven't changed. So this sounds more like, again, I don't know because I have not seen the second letter. But I think one of the things everybody is thinking about right now is how is Nancy doing? Assuming she's unharmed, how is she doing? She doesn't have her medication. There are definitely health issues. So I don't know if they have referenced that. But it seems to me that if they are trying to squeeze the family to hit the button on that Bitcoin link, that's one of the things that they would do. That would be a pressure point. Again, I don't know what it says, but from the way the reporter described it, it sounded like there was something somewhat alarming in it.
I can certainly understand there's been now 2 pleas from the family, one from Savannah directly, one from her brother, for proof of life that you are who you say you are. And it seems consistent, this letter, if it's real, again, if all the letters are real, that it would be coming from the same person, although a different IP address. In this particular case, one has to imagine as we get closer to Monday at 5 p.m. Tucson time, whether or not they just hit send on that Bitcoin letter. And I would not blame them, whatever decision they made. I'm sure they're in total agony over it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It is a really tough decision. They have not sent proof of life so far. One of the things I want to see, the KOLD